The gym echoed with the sharp sound of gloves hitting pads and the rhythmic thuds of bodies meeting mats. It was late afternoon, and members of Redstone Dojo, a mixed martial arts gym in the city, were winding down their weekly sparring session. Laughter rang out from one side of the mat, mostly students clustered around their trainer, a white woman named Vanessa Green, known in the local scene as Coach Fifth. A certified black belt in kickboxing, she was popular, loud, and at times condescending. "All right, who's next?" she called, smirking as her eyes scanned the room. Then her gaze landed on someone sitting quietly on the bench near the far wall. A black woman in her mid-30s, hair tied back, dressed in a plain grey tee and black leggings. She had been coming in for a few weeks, training solo. No one knew much about her. She never joined group classes. She just watched, stretched, and moved like someone who didn't need attention. "Hey you," Vanessa called out, pointing her glove in the woman's direction. "You want to try a few rounds? Promise I won't break you." The room chuckled. Someone muttered, "She doesn't even look like she's trained." Another said, "Coach is savage." But the woman didn't flinch. She stood slowly, calm and collected. "My name's Nia," she said simply, stepping forward. Vanessa raised a brow. "Well, Nia, hope you've at least watched some YouTube." People laughed again, louder this time. But Nia didn't smile. As she stepped onto the mat, her movements were fluid, confident, quietly dangerous. And though no one realized it yet, this wasn't going to be a sparring session. It was going to be a lesson. And the entire gym was about to fall silent. As Nia stepped barefoot onto the mat, the whispers began again. "She's brave," one teen murmured. "Or stupid," another chuckled. A tall man with a shaved head leaned toward his friend. "This'll be quick." Vanessa adjusted her gloves, exaggeratedly bouncing on her feet. "You sure you want this, Nia?" she asked, voice dripping with mock concern. "This isn't cardio kickboxing." Nia nodded once. "I know." To the casual observer, Nia looked average. Not bulky, not flashy, just composed. Her face was expressionless, as though nothing around her mattered. But to those trained to see it, her posture said everything. Her balance, her breath control, her foot placement. But no one noticed. Because in that room, appearance was louder than presence. The gym owner, Mike, stood by the water cooler, arms crossed. He didn't say a word, but his brow furrowed. He'd seen Nia train, quiet, alone, every evening after hours. She rarely used the heavy bag, but when she did, her strikes were clinical, like she was measuring rather than exerting. He'd asked her once if she had a coach. She had just smiled. Vanessa turned to the onlookers. "Anyone want to film this?" she joked. "Could go viral. Coach drops newcomer in under 30 seconds. A few phones were raised, and snickers filled the air. But Nia wasn't listening. She was scanning, calculating, breathing. Her hands moved up to a natural guard position, not stiff but fluid. Her weight distributed with the elegance of someone who didn't train for sport, but for mastery. Vanessa stepped forward. "Let's dance." The bell rang. And the first thing Nia did? She waited, still, calm, reading. Like a predator sizing up prey that thought it was the hunter, Vanessa came in fast, leading with a light jab aimed at Nia's face. Not full force, just a testing strike. The kind that says, "Let's see what you've got." Nia didn't flinch. She swayed just enough to let the punch miss, then pivoted slightly on her back foot. The audience leaned in. Coach V followed up with a low kick, meant to tap the outer thigh, again more performative than threatening. But Nia stepped into it, letting the kick graze her shin. It was intentional. She wanted to feel the timing. Vanessa grinned. "You're tough, huh?" But Nia said nothing. Instead, she threw her first strike. A jab, not hard, but fast and precise. It connected with Vanessa's guard, forcing her to back up. There was no power behind it, only purpose. That's when people started paying closer attention. The laughter quieted. A few lowered their phones. One student in the back nudged another. "She's not just here for fun." Vanessa adjusted her stance, slightly more cautious now. She came in again with a flurry. Jab, cross, body shot. Nia blocked every single one with the ease of someone in a drill. Her footwork wasn't fancy, but it was flawless. Then came the turning point. Vanessa swung high with a hook. Too wide, too confident. And Nia slipped inside the arc, landing a clean palm strike to her opponent's shoulder that sent Coach V stumbling. Gasps echoed through the gym. It wasn't a knockout, but it was a message. The crowd blinked. This woman. She knew what she was doing. Vanessa's face flushed. "Lucky shot," she muttered. But Nia's expression didn't change. She hadn't come for luck, she had come for truth, and it had just begun to reveal itself. The next exchange was different. No more laughter, no more jokes. Vanessa, now visibly tense, adjusted her stance. Gone was the performative ease. Her shoulders tightened and her eyes sharpened. She realized this wasn't going to be the one-sided embarrassment she expected. Nia stood like a statue, relaxed but ready. No bouncing, no bravado, just stillness. And in that stillness, power. Vanessa circled her slowly, hands up. She feinted left, then darted in with a sharp side kick aimed at Nia's midsection. But Nia shifted diagonally, avoiding it with minimal movement, then countered with a quick back fist, just a whisper across Vanessa's cheek. It wasn't meant to hurt, it was meant to warn. And it worked. The gym was frozen, no one cheered, no one recorded, the air was thick with disbelief. The underdog wasn't just surviving, she was teaching. Mike, the gym owner, whispered to his assistant, "Where did she learn that?" His assistant just shook his head. "That's not self-defense, that's mastery." Vanessa tried to recover. She lunged again, more aggressive this time, but her strikes were starting to miss their mark. She was throwing with emotion. Nia? She was gliding, shifting weight like she was made of wind. Then came the moment. Nia ducked under a haymaker, spun, and swept Vanessa's leg. Coach V hit the mat. Hard. For 2 seconds, there was silence. Then came the stunned exhale from the crowd. Nia stepped back, hands still up. She hadn't attacked, she had corrected. And now the gym finally saw her. Not as a joke, but as a force. Vanessa lay on the mat, stunned, not from pain but from humiliation. Her ego hit the ground harder than her body. She stared up at Nia, whose hand extended, offering to help her up. Vanessa didn't take it. Instead, she stood on her own, eyes darting to the crowd, searching for someone, anyone, to validate her. But no one spoke. She dusted herself off. "You got lucky," she muttered under her breath. Nia tilted her head. "You want to keep going?" It wasn't cocky, it was compassionate, as if she was offering Vanessa a chance to save face. "But pride is a powerful thing." Vanessa nodded sharply, gloves tightening. "Let's go." They squared up again. This time, Vanessa came out hard, swinging. She abandoned form and charged with anger. A flurry of reckless punches aimed more at Nia's presence than her body. But Nia didn't flinch. She blocked, ducked, and stepped aside like a ghost. She didn't strike back immediately. She waited, giving Vanessa the space to burn out her frustration. And then, she moved. 3 strikes, lightning fast, a jab to the ribs, a palm to the shoulder, a leg sweep that stopped short of contact. It was mercy and dominance. Vanessa froze, her breath ragged, her arms trembling. This wasn't a fight anymore. This was exposure. She had mocked a woman she thought was beneath her. And now she was being undone, not violently but clinically. The gym saw it. And the silence? It wasn't from fear, it was from respect. Vanessa dropped her hands and stepped back. For the first time since the match began, she looked unsure. Her eyes darted to the faces around the gym, seeing something she hadn't expected. No applause, no pity, only stunned recognition. Nia stood in front of her, breathing calmly. She hadn't broken a sweat, no blood, no bruises, no smile. She wasn't here to humiliate, she was here to remind. That power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits. And then it teaches. Mike finally stepped forward. "That's enough." But Vanessa snapped. "She's not even qualified. Who is she? She's not on our roster." A murmur rippled through the gym. The tone had changed. Vanessa's voice cracked with something more than defensiveness. It was panic. She'd been dethroned. And now she wanted a technicality to rescue her pride. Nia didn't move. Mike cleared his throat. "You should probably stop talking." But Vanessa pressed on. "What are you, a nurse or something? You train in your backyard?" And that's when Nia finally spoke. "I'm Nia Daniels, 5th Dan black belt in Shotokan karate, trained in Tokyo, national-level competitor, former military self-defense instructor. And yes, I'm a nurse." Gasps. Phones were raised again, not for entertainment this time, but to capture history. Vanessa's mouth dropped open. But Nia? She simply stepped back, bowed respectfully, and walked off the mat. The gym remained frozen as Nia walked past the stunned crowd. The energy was different now. She hadn't just won a match. She'd rewritten every assumption in that room. Mike approached her, hand extended. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. Nia shook his hand but said nothing. Her eyes scanned the gym, seeing the stares that used to dismiss her now filled with awe, curiosity, and maybe a bit of guilt. A young girl, no older than 12, stood near the corner, eyes wide with admiration. Nia noticed and smiled softly. Vanessa stood off to the side, fists unclenched, face pale. Her students didn't surround her like before. They stood back, unsure what to say. And that silence? It wasn't just defeat, it was realization. People began whispering, not mockery this time, but praise. She didn't even hit hard, she just moved. Did you see how balanced she was? I thought she was just some hobbyist. The quiet power of the moment sank in. Nia didn't gloat, didn't lecture. She just walked to the bench, picked up her water bottle, and quietly tied her shoes. The real victory? It wasn't that she fought. It's that she didn't need to prove anything, because the truth proved itself. As Nia exited the gym, phones buzzed with uploads and clips. But the story wasn't just going viral. It was becoming legend. A silent warrior had walked among them and left the gym with something more valuable than applause. She left with respect. That night, the gym's group chat buzzed like never before. Clips of Nia's sparring sessions spread quickly. Someone uploaded the video with the caption, "This woman humbled our black belt in 3 minutes flat." It racked up views overnight. But Nia didn't post. She didn't need to. Instead, she sat in her modest apartment, sipping tea and scrolling through a stream of messages from unfamiliar names. Some were curious, some apologetic, others inspired. One read, "Thank you. I'm a black girl in martial arts and I've never seen someone like me win without violence. You gave me hope." Another, "You walked away without even smirking." That was the real knockout. Meanwhile, Vanessa sat alone in the locker room long after everyone left. Her gloves still on, her pride fractured. Mike eventually walked in. "You all right?" Vanessa didn't answer, just stared at the floor. "She wasn't here to embarrass you," he said gently. Vanessa nodded faintly. "But she did." "No, you embarrassed yourself when you assumed she was less." Silence. Mike walked away. Vanessa slowly took off her gloves. The straps trembled in her hands, not from the fight but from reflection. The next afternoon, the gym was unusually quiet. No music, no laughter, just anticipation. Everyone had seen the clip by now, and though most were too embarrassed to admit it, they were waiting for one thing. Would Vanessa say anything? Nia arrived quietly, same as always. She went to the stretching area, plugged in her headphones, and began her warm-up. Then, slowly, Vanessa approached. No gloves, no smirk, just bare hands and a look that carried the weight of realization. "Hey," she said softly. Nia removed one earbud. "I was wrong," Vanessa continued. "About you. About a lot of things." The gym fell silent. People stopped their reps mid-set. "I didn't challenge you to grow. I challenged you to mock you. That's not what martial arts is about." Nia simply nodded. Vanessa added, "Thank you for the lesson." Nia stood and for the first time extended her hand. "Growth hurts," she said, "but that's how we earn our belts." They shook hands. And in that handshake, something shifted, not just between them, but in the gym's culture. The real fight had ended. The healing had begun. Weeks passed. Nia didn't become loud or flashy. She didn't ask to teach. But people began to ask her, "Could you show me that stance you used? How do you stay balanced during a counter? What should I focus on if I panic?" Nia answered with calm patience. Eventually, Mike approached her with an offer, a weekly workshop for women in the gym, self-defense, confidence and movement. She agreed, not to boast, but to build. The first session had 6 women. By the 3rd week there were 24, including the young girl who once stood silently in awe. Even Vanessa showed up. She trained quietly, listened carefully, and offered to assist when needed. In every move Nia taught, there was more than technique. There was philosophy, power through presence, confidence through control, victory through dignity. The old culture of bravado began to fade. In its place, discipline, respect, equality. People no longer asked, "Who is she?" They asked, "When is Nia teaching next?" Meanwhile, outside the gym, Nia's story was no longer just local. National MMA blogs picked up the video. Unknown black woman outsmarts black belt coach in viral clip. Podcasts requested interviews. Fitness pages reshared her silent takedown, applauding her technique, grace, and control. But Nia declined most of them. She didn't want to go viral. She wanted to create impact, not from a screen, but from a stance. One journalist finally cornered her at the end of a workshop and asked, How did it feel, proving everyone wrong? Nia paused. I wasn't proving anyone wrong, she said. I was proving to myself that I could stay true, no matter who mocked me. The journalist nodded slowly. Would you call that strength? No, Nia replied. I'd call it peace. The headline the next morning? She didn't knock her out. She knocked out their assumptions. After one workshop, the same little girl who had once watched Nia from the corner now stood at the front of the class. She had her own gloves now, pink, slightly oversized. Nia knelt beside her after class and asked, You doing okay? The girl nodded, then whispered, Do you think I could ever be as strong as you? Nia smiled gently. You already are. Strength isn't about how hard you hit. She tapped the girl's heart. It's about what you carry, and still choose to stand tall. The girl looked down, then said quietly, Coach Vanessa said she used to think strong meant loud, but now she says strong means still. Nia nodded. She's learning. We all are. In that moment, Nia realized that this wasn't just about correcting one insult or one fight. It was about rewriting what strength looked like for everyone watching. That evening, as the gym closed, Vanessa approached Nia with something wrapped in cloth. I found this, she said, handing it over. Thought it belonged with someone who understands its weight. Nia opened it. It was a black belt, clean, simple, with no name stitched across it. Vanessa continued, It's symbolic. You've probably earned dozens. But this one's for what you've built here. Nia smiled, touched. I never needed the belt, she said, folding it gently. But I'm honored. Vanessa nodded. You taught me that a belt isn't what makes someone powerful. It's how they wear their silence. Months later, the culture at Redstone Dojo had changed entirely. Gone were the mock challenges and ego-driven matches. Now, students of all backgrounds trained side by side, with humility and purpose. Nia's workshop grew into a full program. She called it the Quiet Guard. The slogan, Stillness is a weapon, use it wisely. Parents signed up their kids. Women who had once feared gyms walked through the doors with purpose. And young fighters, especially young black girls, saw in Nia not just a fighter, but a mirror. Someone who looked like them, moved like them, won like them, without ever needing to raise her voice. One afternoon, as a new batch of students entered, a boy asked, Who is she? Another whispered, That's Miss Nia. She's the woman who made the gym go silent. But Nia didn't hear them. She was too busy adjusting a girl's stance, guiding her arm, teaching her to move, not to hurt, but to hold her own. And as the gym pulsed with new energy, Nia smiled. The fight was over. But the real work? It had just begun.